everybody, it's Andy from Snowcamps Europe, back with Paul from the Ski Instructor Academy here in Kaprun, Austria, and with another podcast. But before we start, if you did watch the last one we did, Direct to Parallel, you may have noticed that the sound wasn't as crisp as it normally is, and that's because Mr. Simpson forgot to press record.
Who? What?
Have you pressed record on this one?
But again, you know, being a perfectionist, I did have a backup system in place just in case, which is why we could, you know, that episode managed to get posted without us having to do it twice, because I did have a backup. But yes, the quality might not be as good.
It is funny that the last thing you said before you should have pressed the record button was, I like to have a backup, and then you didn't use the main recording suite. We had to use the slightly inferior one.
We did.
The backup.
So we're just having a bit of a chat, aren't we, really? Because you're doing your summer hut stuff up in...
managed to finally get back to work 3 weeks ago. So we've opened up Jausen Station Bad Fusch Grill and Craft. And we've had a few busy days. We've had a lot of quiet days because, again, there's still not really any tourism going on, even though Austria is open to, I think, 39 countries. And it's been extremely hot the last week, which means everyone's down at the lake.
Yes, it's very humid, is it not? It's very humid. But yes, at least you're doing something. Obviously, from our side, you know, we can see here in Austria, they are opening up their borders. They about 100 cases, I think they had yesterday, or something, new COVID cases. It's very, very low. But the main thing, I think, which you're finding around the world now is that the hospitals aren't under pressure because the vaccination seems to be working, in the sense of, yeah, people might get COVID, but they're not getting ridiculously sick as they were previously.
Yeah, I had my second one last Tuesday. So
yeah, and what about your COVID vaccine? Yeah, that as well.
yeah. And no side effects, I'm glad to say.
Whereas I was floored. Yeah. On the first one, I was 2 days out of it.
Maybe that's because you're super fit.
Yes, could be. And then the second one, I must admit, the second one I didn't have any side effects at all. But it is good because it opens up the world. And, you know, for the winter coming up, we're very, very positive. But we did see some news that you sent me yesterday.
Yes.
Which,
the show.
The show. After us doing that big podcast about having too many shows and whatever.
Well, I went through the whole winter predicting things and saying I wanted to be proven wrong, and we did say in that podcast that we thought that UK did not need 2 or 3 shows, especially 2 of them around the same time. And news just in is one of the shows has been cancelled.
Yeah, the London one. The London one, they decided that it was probably using COVID as the reason.
Of course.
But hey, God, that saves us some money, because doing 2 shows in 1 week and all the pressure involved in that, it's cool. And it then focuses the attention back on Birmingham. Yeah. And I think that's a good solution for all round. So the show is no longer.
Everybody get to Birmingham Central, as we said in that podcast. It's a little bit easier, especially for the people from the north. So it looks like that now will be the big show. Let's just hope it is a good quality show and it goes off very, very well.
I've already booked my flight and hotel to that show, but I see my flight got cancelled by British Airways already. Due to COVID, your flight has been cancelled. What? It's October. Yeah. So I need to find a new flight. But looking forward to that one. That's one bit of news to catch up on.
I've been seeing lots of video and posts from New Zealand and Australia. Looks like they're having a fantastic start to the season. Plenty of snow. People in Thredbo posting and all different places. Gemma, who came on one of the SA courses, she is back teaching in Australia again this winter. I think she's even doing a race coaching course.
Oh, wonderful. And obviously that's locked to Australians and
I think New Zealand, isn't it?
Corridor between the two.
Yeah. And again, it's COVID effects. I saw a report saying that, and I think it was Thredbo, that they are trying to get work permits or work visas for several key staff that they haven't yet got, who are actually from outside of Australia. And it was things like piste and bully drivers, ski patrol, obviously ski teachers, and they're hoping that the government's going to give them a dispensation to bring those people in because they need them. They're historical staff who know what they're doing, and they haven't got other staff that they can recruit, or other people that they can recruit to put into those positions. So that'll be interesting to see. because then that kind of links back to the whole what's going to happen next winter in Austria. Will we see any British ski instructors? Because what we've now seen is, even though Switzerland's not in the EU, Switzerland are now saying, and this isn't just limited to ski instructors, it's probably limited to anybody without an EU passport, but I've seen adverts from 2 ski schools saying, we need ski teachers next winter, but you have to have an EU passport, which means they can't employ their British passport holding ski teachers that they've had for many, many years.
Well, if you are, I know a couple of British ski instructors from Switzerland area. If you are one of those, maybe put in the comments below and tell Andy he's wrong or whatever. But I agree with Andy. At the minute, though, the information I had from the associations and through the governments was that basically no is the answer at the minute. And that hard nose coming around the whole of Europe for British people to work because of COVID as well, because they're not that bothered this season coming. It's almost like, oh, we'll see what happens. And then if we desperately need ski instructors and we are wrong, we'll put it right in the future. So what I think's going to happen is we're going to have this sort of bridge where over the next 2 seasons, there's going to be a lot of unsurety. And of course, what will happen is by that time, if you have to wait 2 seasons before you can get back into the industry, a lot of people will have to move on. They'll have to give up that old desire and dream to be a ski instructor and move on to something else. So, I mean, what we did, we bulletproofed all our courses against Brexit with Ski Instructor Academy, for example. With that in mind and Brexit in mind, we were very careful to do that. I sat in a meeting this week with one of the associations to discuss in depth about how we can get round it and to approach the government regarding season air visas now. But whether, again, I'll get that in place for this season is unlikely because of COVID. Everybody's just distracted still. Nobody knows what the season's going to look like. Is it going to be 100%? Is it going to be 50%? Or is it going to be 150% of what it normally is? Who knows? So they're not that bothered at the minute about dealing with it. And we all agree that what will happen is the shit will hit the fan somewhere and they'll go, oh, we do actually need these people.
Yeah, it'll be a reactive rather than proactive approach, for sure. Always is. Or it seems to be. I'm not saying it always is. I'm saying it seems to always be.
But if you're one of those positions, I know on my Facebook hub page, we have different Facebook fan pages and stuff, but one of the hub pages, Andy, where it's for people who, from 2010 have been on our courses and still working. I was asking them, people, what are you doing? What's your thoughts about this? Because of the fact that people were not here in Austria this year because of COVID, they missed out on being able to apply for the Article 50, the rights to work here, and therefore they're falling out of the system. And I was asking them what they're doing. But surprisingly, there's quite a lot of people quite blasé about it, still don't quite get it.
Yep.
And as I say, that's why one of the reasons we bulletproofed the course is to make sure people could still have that gap year experience without worrying about Brexit. It's important that they can get that. But yeah, from whether it be in a Holland, in a Dutch dry slope to Switzerland to France to wherever, screwed.
Yeah.
It's one of the side effects.
So, going back to our very first recording, and it was the effects of COVID. We talked about what happened with the groups over in Yorkberg and
in Austria,
the so-called outbreak of the British English variant.
Yes,
I believe there's a bit of an update, is there?
Yes, there is. It appears last week we got information from the authorities to say that it was all a conspiracy theory. Interestingly, there was no British variant in Yorkberg. The laboratory had lied. It had made up the fact that this was the British variant when actually it was just plain old Chinese Austrian variant. It was no different to any other variant. And of course, we were very suspicious knowing that nobody had been in the UK for 2 months before that. It was like, how did they catch it?
I remember when it was all going on and they were all in Austria well before that English variant, the Kent variant or whatever it's now called.
You're not allowed to call that now.
No,
you're not allowed to put a name on it.
But
the Indian variant or the Delta variant.
Exactly, but what is the Kent one called?
B17946Z Zulu.
Gamma or something?
Who cares?
But I remember when it all kicked off and they were saying it was the British variant. And it just they'd all been here so long. But
it was. How does it come? Telepathic.
So what we're saying is there was a COVID outbreak, but it was not the British variant in Yorkberg.
No. And it wasn't an outbreak. Let's come back to reality, because you remember the time there was like 3,500 cases a day.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything abnormal.
So
it was just another small group of people
had contracted the virus.
Somebody had contracted the virus in Austria and had basically
But then the whole of Yorkberg were tested for the British virus,
for the British variant,
which didn't exist.
Basically, it was a lie. And it just shows you. And don't get me wrong, you can't blame the Austrians or the Tyroleans or whoever, because they're probably doing it all over the world, trying to exacerbate things, make it look worse than it is at times when it suits them, make it look better than it is when it suits them. It's just government politics, and people need to read through and never trust news sources. It's as simple as that.
And it did make the news, didn't it? Because we had it all over Austrian websites. We had it in the Austrian papers. It was in the.
There was British bringing the rag, the Tyrolean tag.
The English one.
Oh, the Sun.
The Sun.
There was the Sun as well.
Made it into the Sun. And so if it was to get column inches, it got column inches.
Yeah. No, but the Telegraph, in fairness, put it right then with their editorial on it as well. But look, it's people have to understand that when something's newsworthy, it's newsworthy because it's sensationalism. It's that's what they're going to do. And we always knew there was something amiss, but you can't. What can you do? Once the press are involved, you can't do anything. You've just got to let it run its course, and it's just one of those things. But yeah, it was a big conspiracy theory. It was a lie. So there you go. There's some more news.
One thing that's been in the news quite a lot is the fact that the major tour operators are way in front of bookings than they would normally be. And I think what needs to kind of be cleared up is everybody needs to think about why are they so far ahead of where they are. And people are starting, or I'm seeing some people are starting to panic and going, oh, we're going to miss out on having a holiday because we're not going to be able to book it because they're going to have sold all of the beds. If you think about all of the people who have had their holidays cancelled the last 2 years, they've all rebooked now. Straight away, they've rebooked them as they've been cancelled. Some of them are booking a second holiday. But also, what's happening is the holiday companies want your money. They want it in the bank accounts of their businesses because they need cash to continue working. So when they're telling you that bookings are so far ahead of where they normally are, it doesn't mean that there are that many more bookings. It's just for this time of the year.
Yeah.
And I think some people out there are getting a little bit confused because I'm getting emails, people saying, Andy, are there any beds left on this week? Are there any beds left on that week? We've been told TUI are 52% ahead of normal. Well, yes,
What's
because
normal?
It's not, it isn't normal. So just...
But are these holiday companies also, though, doing things like offering money-back guarantees and reservations you can cancel and stuff like that? So really you could book and cancel.
Yeah, exactly. And I think a lot of people are booking, some of them safe in the knowledge that it possibly will get cancelled for one reason or another, like it has. And I've seen people post that they've booked and their last 6 bookings have been cancelled. So yeah, I think there are a lot of people who have booked who will expect it to be cancelled, or safe in the knowledge that they can actually cancel it themselves with 100% refund. And this is an interesting thing as well, and this is a question that's been sent in or commented on one of the videos somewhere, is people have been asking if they book direct with hotels in Austria, what protection do they have? And it's actually interesting because there is a law in Austria that governs the booking of a hotel room, and it's a stepped process. So if you were to cancel within the last 7 days, you would lose some money. If you cancel within 14 days, you lose a percentage of the money. If you cancel 3 months in advance, you don't lose anything. And also, you're protected if they cancel on you. So again, if you are thinking of going direct, and therefore you might not be ATOL or ABTA bonded, then do check out the policies on the hotel's websites. But in Austria, they have to abide by a rule. So your money is safe.
In fairness, though, I do know of people who have lost their money, who have booked direct. But we, as a company, Ski Instructor Academy, lost a considerable amount of money to an accommodation who didn't give the money back. Now, as you rightly point out, we could get our money back legally. So we took that action by getting a solicitor involved, going to court, which we won 2 weeks ago, the court case, forcing that company to pay the money back. And that money's now getting paid back in stages. It has happened. But we are an Austrian company. We base ourselves in Austria. We're part of the EU, and we could fight that case here at a considerable cost. Whereas if you're in England now, I would say, if you lost 2,000 euros on a holiday, for example, how on earth are you going to go through the legal, to get that back? It would be complicated. So there's a lot of, it's just a very, very difficult situation.
So on that point, make sure you've got insurance. Make sure you've got cancellation insurance. And again, one of the main hotels that we use, when it gets to your booking, they actually have a note that says, do you want to buy cancellation insurance? So make sure you've got appropriate insurance as well.
Yeah, it's funny because for the first time in a long time, I never take insurance. I travel all over the world and never take insurance. One thing I do take in fairness is like a membership with the Alpenverein, which is, I suppose, mountain rescue or whatever you would call it, like 50 euros for a year. But apart from that, I don't have insurance. But this year I had, when I was booking flights, been booking flex tickets, because I did want that ability to cancel, move flights easily. And one of the worst airlines, if you didn't have flex, was Lufthansa. Okay. Like if you booked a holiday or anything, a flight with them, and you wanted to adapt it slightly, they'd hammer you with costs. So I learned that lesson quickly. Some of the airlines are great, actually. They'll just let you, like Emirates, I just could chop and change flight dates and everything, and there was no problem with them. So again, you just don't know what you're going to get, do you? And I think it's going to take another couple of years before people have full faith and confidence in the marketplaces and stuff as well. It's just such a difficult time.
Yeah, but again, like you said, Emirates, they are quite good with that. Maybe the other airlines will also change and adapt a little bit and become a little bit less rigid on their policies.
That's the problem with the rigidity from Lufthansa was horrendous. And yeah, you don't want that. You do want a certain movement. Anything else on the news, Andy? What else we got?
I think that is about it, isn't it?
Yeah.
For skiing news at the moment, we are in the middle of the summer, obviously, and it does die off a little bit. But anything that does pop up, we will make sure we get out there as soon as we can.
As quick as we can.
Yeah. Done.
You're done? Okay then.
Bye for now, everyone.
Bye for now.
Catch us on the next one.